Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today I'm going to show you how to write the content of your paper, systematic review paper. So I've prepared the paper template to ease you in drafting the paper. Okay. So I want you to fill out your name here, and if you ever have searched about the targeted journal, then you can fill out the targeted journal. Otherwise, you can leave it at the moment. And you can fill the title and the abstract. We discussed how to write the abstract. I've provided the structure here and the content. Yeah. So the most important discussion today I want to highlight to you is the content. Okay. So first is introduction. Okay. Introduction is supposed to be 10% of the whole things of your paper. Yeah. So in introduction, you can start with highlighting the phenomenon, yeah? Whether it is concerning the global, the community, the general, yeah? For example, like CSR, yeah? Or why CSR is important in the global scenario, yeah? Why people are putting the attention on CSR issues, for example, okay? And also you can highlight here the trend of research. Yeah? Let's say you can mention, for example, research in CSR has been growing since blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that one is about 1 to 2 paragraphs. Okay? And then moving on to the state of art and research gap. Okay? State of art is basically highlighting previous researchers or previous research that have been done in this topic, yeah. And by highlighting or summarizing most of the previous research in this topic, then you can identify the research gap, okay. So in your context, basically the research gap could be that there was no any study that has been done to review the literature in CSR, for example, especially for the past 3 decades, for example. Yeah. And in stating the state of art, yeah, please use the many citations as possible. Let's say you want to say research in CSR has been extensively performed in the past 30 years. Yeah? So, for instance, several research have been focusing on the CSR reporting. Yeah, and in the bracket you will put the citation. Who did the research on CSR reporting, for example. Yeah. Okay, and then meanwhile, other research have looked into the influence of CSR on the company's performance. For example, you'll put the citations in the bracket to show the readers that you have covered many previous research in discussing your topic. Yeah, and from that state of art to connect to the research gap, you can mention like, nevertheless, there was no any research that's been done to systematically review extensive research that has been done on CSR, for example. Yeah? And after that, you can proceed with the novelty of research, yeah? Which can be put into 1 or 2 sentences after research gap. Yeah. So after you mention, nevertheless, there was no any research on systematic review of CSR. Yeah? Therefore, this study is filling the gap in the literature by performing the systematic review of 30 years on the topic of CSR, for example. And this will contribute significantly to mapping out the existing research on CSR and providing the future suggestion for future research that can be embarked by the researchers. For example, you can mention your novelty in such a way, yeah? Or in any other way. You can have a look at other papers, how they mention about the novelty of research, yeah? Okay. So yeah, I have combined the novelty and the research contribution just now. And after mentioning the novelty research contribution, you can close the introduction section by specifying the objective of the paper and outline the paper structure. Yeah. So you will mention, for example, therefore this study aims to blah, 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 blah. And the paper proceeds as follows. The next session will elaborate the research method. The section after that will blah, 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 until the last section concludes the paper. Yeah? That's the outline of the paper. Yeah? Yeah? Okay, and then the part 2 of the introduction is research method. Yeah? Research method, you will, is slightly different from the empirical paper. Yeah? You don't have to explain the measurement of variables, etc. For systematic review paper, you just mention your data collection method, yeah, the sample of the papers that you are reviewing, yeah, the years range, yeah, which database that you are using, and then the data analysis method, yeah. What keywords do you use just now is for data collection method, actually, the keywords used, and then how do you filter, how do you coding, and provide the figure of your research design, yeah, for the process of you doing the data collection until you finalize how many papers that you are taking into the data analysis and how do you analyze using the metric, etc. Yeah. And part 3 is result and discussion. This is the significant content of your paper, actually, yeah, where you present your results according to the section in your metric. Yeah, for example, you want to highlight about the country of authorship. Yeah, okay. The country of authorship of the papers in CSR, for example, just now. Yeah, and you will provide the table or figure. Yeah, and for example, you would discuss that based on the country of authorship. Yeah. Most of the papers on the factors influencing the CSR are basically coming from developed countries, for example, like USA or European countries. Yeah. Meanwhile, little research have been performed in the countries by the authors in the countries of developing countries, for example. Yeah. Or another dimension that you want to discuss that you extract from your metric is on the major themes of the studies, yeah, that you have mapped out, yeah. And also you can discuss about limitation of the study or suggestion for future research, yeah. What's the future outlook of the research in the topic of CSR, for example, yeah. So provide explanation with the tables or figures in here, yeah. And I recommend you to cite as many as possible. Of course, you will be citing the references that you are using, yeah, the papers that you are using for review. Yeah? And after that is conclusion, yeah. So conclusion, as we discussed, you can basically conclude your research by mentioning again the objective and then how the objective has been achieved and what have you found out from your research, yeah. But don't copy paste from the discussion and put in the conclusion, yeah. And highlight the limitation of the study and possibly the recommendation or future suggestion for future research. Yeah. Okay. And to close the paper, as usual, we have to provide the references. Yeah. References, use the Mendeley or other reference referencing tools like OneNote, EndNote, yeah, or Atlas. Yeah. Okay, this one use 80% articles from index-reputed journals. Of course, you are using Scopus database, so it's for sure index-reputed journals. Yeah. And if you have already targeted journal that you want to publish your paper, then you have to follow the reference style of the required journal. Yeah. Otherwise, just use the APA style. Okay. So I guess that's all. I hope it becomes easy for you to draft your paper by providing this template. Yeah. Any question you can ask, I will share the draft, this systematic review paper template together with our sample article. Yeah. And remind me if you need anything else, and you can ask question in the group. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.